And now, from 12 Studios, this is News 12 Now.
Today is Thursday, August 22nd. Welcome to News 12 Now. I'm Kylee Dedmon. Well, heads up Sherman drivers, happening just before 3 this afternoon. The Sherman Police Department is closing Fallon Bridge over Highway 75 for a few hours. Now, during the closure, the Sherman Fire Rescue will be displaying the American flag to honor Denison's police officer, Officer Will Deering. Officer Deering died on Saturday after battling cancer. Traffic will be rerouted to the service roads. And a temporary lockdown was put in place at Marietta Public Schools this morning due to a man walking near the schools with a knife. Love County Sheriff Andy Cumberledge says the man was experiencing a mental health crisis and has been taken into protective custody. There is no threat to the public, and the lockdown has since been lifted. Well, new information on the pedestrian who was hit and killed by a vehicle early this morning on Highway 377. According to Johnston County Sheriff Gary Dodd, a preliminary investigation shows a woman may have been involved in a single vehicle incident where she ran off the road. The sheriff says she was possibly walking back towards Tishomingo on the road when she was hit. Now, here's what Sheriff Dodd had to say when asked about the vehicle that was involved.
And what was the vehicle make and model?
We do not know that. So as of right now, this is a hit and run. We do not know the individual who struck this lady.
Oklahoma Highway Patrol Homicide Investigation Unit was en route earlier this morning. Sheriff Dodd says the next of kin has been notified. Now we will bring you more information as we learn it. A border state congressman is working with a mayor in Mexico on a project to create a new port of entry. Herbito Perez has the story.
We want to talk about the evolving process of asylum-seeking legislation and policy so that we can make sure that as folks come into the border area.
Congressman Vasquez also mentioned 6 different bills he introduced recently, which he say will assist agricultural workers in New Mexico in staying in the U.S. longer and pursuing a residency or U.S. citizenship.
Because today we cannot fill those jobs, not just here in New Mexico, but across the country. And so we have to match up smart immigration policy with the needs of this country if we want to remain the greatest economic power in the world.
I asked both Representative Vasquez and Mayor Perez Cuellar if the proposed new port of entry in Sunland Park and Anapra in Juárez was going to be discussed.
Es un tema que de alguna manera nos rebasa a los dos, porque son temas federales.
Mayor Perez Cuellar said as a federal matter, decision-making exceeds their power as local leaders. But both Vasquez and Perez Cuellar think it is good to have a new port of entry in this region.
And so the importance of that fluidity of our families coming across for education, for jobs, for opportunities is great. And so if there's a need in Sunland Park, and we have done studies on what a potential pedestrian and non-commercial vehicle port looks like, then I think we should follow what the science and what the data tells us.
Heriberto Perez, ABC 7.
So far, our Thursday has been fairly similar to our Wednesday, especially in the temperature department. This morning, though, it felt really great because we had lower humidity values. And again, as you can see here, most of us running barely any different than this time yesterday. The thing is, though, yeah, Antlers and Hugo, for example, running a little bit warmer because they're not under that rain-cooled air from any showers or storms. We had a few very light sprinkles this morning, but otherwise we've been running fairly nice. And heading into this afternoon, it is looking pretty good. Temperatures in the 70s and lower 80s. So comfortable. And there it is, that dry air. The lower humidity values, yeah, still there in the 50s and even some 60s out there. So enjoy it while it lasts. A little bit breezy too with a gusty southeasterly breeze. So we will be eventually warming up as we go into the rest of this weekend. But today, staying near seasonal. Then we have maybe some big pattern changes on the way heading into next week and especially next weekend. We're going to talk about all that here in just a minute. Till then, back to you, Kylie.
Thank you, Brian. COVID cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are all back on the rise here in the U.S. Now, that's according to the CDC, which blames the spike on declining immunity and 3 new variants. Dr. James Frame says the main concern is for older people with pre-existing conditions. He says now is the time to get a booster vaccine.
You're going to need that extra bit of protection, if you will, to ward off a potential pneumonia situation or to avoid the long COVID symptoms, which can be 3-4 months worth of symptoms of just feeling absolutely miserable.
And if you do get COVID, he says to come in right away so you can get the right medication to get you back on your feet. Well, in Texas, the mother of a special needs student says her son was barred from participating in after-school sports due to his disability. Chaz Miller reports.
Caden Walker just started 7th grade at Kleb Intermediate School last week. His mom, Elizabeth, described him as energetic, loving, and determined. And this year, he's determined to play football.
What we were asking for was him to be able to participate in the practices and the drills, the running, be part of the huddle, be part of, carrying equipment.
He's not been able to do any of that, according to his mother. She said they've had to sit in the stands for practice because their son isn't allowed on the field. Walker added that he's even passed a physical.
The coach the other night at a meeting made a comment, and he said, I was really shocked when I seen Caden's physical come across my desk. I didn't think you would even want him to do athletics. That's very discriminating.
Walker filed a formal complaint with the Texas Education Agency last night. Part of that complaint states, my son should be allowed to participate in extracurricular activities, even if he is just the water boy or timekeeper. This is what happens next. The TEA will review this and investigate it if they find the complaints valid. One option could be mediation. Klein ISD says they've made proper arrangements that the family is happy with. In a statement sent yesterday, before the formal complaint was filed, they said in part, we work in partnership with our families. And in our most recent meeting with this family, we worked together to create a plan for our student to participate in athletic classes in a meaningful and safe way, which the family agreed to and supported. I asked the district if they had any additional comments as a result of the complaint being filed. They are standing by yesterday's statement.
That was Chaz Miller reporting. A U.S. Senator and Speaker of the House visited Atoka and Durant yesterday as a stop on their partnership series to educate Oklahomans and answer their questions. Both Mullen and McCall say they want to equip local leadership with the tools to succeed. The Texas Department of Public Safety is rolling out a new policy that will block transgender Texans from changing the sex on their driver's licenses and state ID cards. Andrew Freeman explains more about the controversial ruling.
Not at all transparent. It leaves the people out of the process.
Ash Hall with the American Civil Liberties Union of Texas says the Texas Department of Public Safety's new policy isn't just ignorant, but downright dangerous.
That opens them up to discrimination, harassment, even violence.
A leaked email confirmed by KUT News and sent to CBS Austin by Equality Texas reveals a new policy in which Texans will no longer be able to change the sex on their licenses unless it's to fix a clerical error. Similar policies have already been put in place in Florida, Kansas, and Montana.
Really obvious that direction is exclusionary. It is meant to render transgender people invisible.
Hall says even more frightening is the directive to record these requests and send them to a specific email address, which they say is reminiscent of a request Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton made in 2022 to gather the same data from DPS.
I'd become very anxious, in particular about the list. For one thing, we have no idea what that list is going to be used for.
Brad Pritchett is interim CEO of the LGBTQ advocacy group Equality Texas. He says there are nearly 93,000 trans Texans, and the importance of them having driver's licenses can't be overstated.
You need your ID to drive. You need that ID to vote in Texas.
If gender markers on legal documents don't match, Hall fears it could lead to confusion or even violence.
An officer could accuse that trans woman of fraud, which is obviously not the case, but that may be how that looks to an officer.
While groups like the Trans Legal Aid Clinic of Texas say it may be best to wait to turn any court-ordered sex change documentation into Texas DPS, Pritchett still recommends going through the process to get it.
Not a simple process to go through. This is being done by people who are playing by the rules. They are following the law in order to make these changes.
In a statement, the ACLU of Texas points out that state agencies can't ignore court orders, nor is DPS allowed to collect or share people's personal information for political aim. While there are no legal challenges yet, Hall believes the policy is destined to fail.
They're going around the people of Texas in order to enact these high-stakes, harmful policies.
Thank you for watching today's News 12 Now. Make sure to subscribe so you find out why Texoma turns to us. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, where you'll see more social media exclusive content. Want more News 12 Now? Watch us live every weekday through the KXII app on your phone or TV and through our website.